Hello students. So today we will continue with the NCERT chapter 7, which is alcohol, phenols and ethers. And today is the theory part 12. This is the disclaimer. So what is the objective of today's lecture? So after attending this lecture, you will be able to understand the topics which we are going to cover today. So today we'll be covering the chemical reactions of ethers. Now for your reference, I have mapped the NCERT sections which we are going to cover today. So today we'll be covering section 7.6.3, which is chemical reactions. And for your better understanding of the concept, we will solve an example which is 7.7, and we will also solve in-text question which is 7.10 and 7.11. And then we will summarize whatever we have studied in today's lecture. So let us start with today's lecture. So students, today our main focus will be on the chemical reactions of ethers. As we know, in ether, we have a carbon-oxygen bond. So we will see the cleavage of this carbon-oxygen bond in ethers. So ethers, they are less stable, they are less reactive because of the stable carbon-oxygen-carbon linkage. Now we know that in ether, we have this linkage, which is carbon-oxygen-carbon linkage. Now this linkage is quite stable. Because of the stability of this linkage, the ethers are less reactive. If I talk about the bond angle of this COC bond, then it is around 110 degree. And the sigma bonds which are present, it makes the ether relatively stable. So the lone pairs which are present on this oxygen, they are not easily available for reaction under normal conditions. But the cleavage of this carbon-oxygen bond in ethers, it can take place under the drastic conditions. If we react the ethers with the excess of hydrogen halides, then we will see in this condition, there will be the cleavage of the carbon and oxygen bond. So you need to remember that this bond is a stable bond and the cleavage takes place under the drastic conditions. Now we will see the reaction of dialkyl ethers. It will give us an alkyl halide and an alcohol. So look at this reaction, students. Here you see a dialkyl ether. This is an ether where there is carbon, oxygen and carbon linkage. Now if you see, this is an unsymmetrical ether. Why? Because on the right and left side of oxygen, there are different groups. Okay, R and R dash group. They can be same also and they can be different also. Now when we react this ether with a hydrogen halide, we will get one molecule of alkyl halide and we will get an alcohol. So this is Rx, and one we will get a molecule of alcohol. Now if the hydrogen halide, which we are taking hydrogen iodide over here, if this is present in axis, then this alcohol further reacts with this hydrogen halide and it forms Rx, and water is formed as a byproduct for this reaction. Okay, so if you have excess of HX, then what happens? This alcohol further reacts with HX and it forms one alkyl halide and water is formed as a byproduct. So if we talk about the overall reaction, in overall reaction you will see that these our dialkyl ethers, when they react with excess of hydrogen halide, you will get here two molecules of alkyl halides. One is R-X and one is R-X over here, and you will get water as the byproduct. Okay, so this is the overall reaction with the excess of X which is present. Now you need to remember over here that if any of this R or R dash forms a 3-degree cation or resonance stabilized 1 degree, 2 degree or 3 degree, then the reaction proceeds by SN1 pathway. Okay, I repeat, if this R or R dash, any of this alkyl group, if it is forming a stable carbocation, then the reaction will proceed by SN1 pathway. Okay. Now, if I talk about alkyl aryl ethers, then they are cleaved at the aryl oxygen bond because of the more stable aryl oxygen bond. Okay. So what happens in this, if I talk about aryl alkyl ethers, and in aryl alkyl ethers, if you see, then this aryl oxygen bond over here is quite stable. Okay. So they are cleaved at this alkyl oxygen bond. This is an alkyl and this is an oxygen bond. So they are cleaved at this alkyl oxygen bond because of the more stable aryl oxygen bond. If you see over here, then you know that there are lone pairs present on this oxygen. Now the lone pairs on this oxygen, they are not localized. They are the lone pairs which are present on this oxygen, they are delocalized lone pair. Okay, because these lone pairs takes part in the resonance with this ring. Okay, since the lone pairs are delocalized over here and the resonating structures are over here, so this bond is stable. Okay, that is your aryl oxygen bond. So when it reacts with HX, which is hydrogen halide, then this alkyl and oxygen bond, that is this O and R bond, you will see that this bond is cleaved and you will get an phenol and RX. Okay, so the bond which is cleaved is an alkyl oxygen bond. Now further, let us understand this by taking an example of a reaction. First, we will see about the bond dissociation energy of hydrogen halides. Now, if you look at this table, you will see that these are the different bond types and these are the different bond energies. If you see for HI, which is hydrogen iodide bond, the bond energy is 297 kilojoule per mole. If you see for hydrogen bromide, it is 366 kilojoule per mole. And if you see for hydrogen chloride, HCl, it is 431. If you see, when we are going from chlorine to bromine to iodine, this bond energy is decreasing. For chlorine, it is maximum, which is 431, and for iodine, it is minimum, which is 297. So lower will be this bond dissociation energy, easier will be the bond breaking. And if bond breaking is easier, then higher will be the reactivity. So if you see for hydrogen iodide, this bond dissociation energy is quite less. So the bond of hydrogen iodide can be easily broken. So if I talk about the reactivity order, then you will see hydrogen iodide has the highest reactivity, then comes the hydrogen bromide, and at last comes the HCl. Okay. Now if I talk about the reasons that why this hydrogen iodide has the higher reactivity, then this is because of the greater electron cloud dispersal. Because in the hydrogen iodide, there is a greater electron cloud dispersion. And you will see that if I talk about the size of iodine, then the size of iodine is quite large. Because as we move down from fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, we see fluorine has the smallest size and iodine has the larger size. Okay, so there is weaker overlap between hydrogen and iodine orbitals because of this significant size difference. Because the size of the hydrogen is small and the size of this I is quite big. Okay, so there is weak overlap. Now if this overlap is weak, then this hydrogen can be easily removed from this. Okay, so there will be higher stability of this iodide ions because there is weaker overlap because of the great size of this iodide ion. Okay, so this H can leave easily. So you will see that this iodine, hydrogen iodine bond, it has a lower bond dissociation energy. So it is easier to break their bond and the reactivity will be more. Now we will understand this by taking a reaction of ethyl methyl ether, which this is the common name, ethyl methyl ether, and this is the IUPAC name, which is methoxyethane. So we will take the reaction of methoxyethane with HI, which is hydrogen iodide. Now look at this compound. This is methoxyethane because the largest carbon chain has 2 carbon atoms. Okay, so this will be methoxy part and this will be alkane part. So we have methoxyethane. Okay, when I reacted with hydrogen iodide, so you will get one alcohol and you will get an alkyl halide. So here you get an ethanol and here you get methyl iodide. Okay. Now we will see the reaction, how this reaction is taking place. So in step 1, we will see that this methoxyethane, it gets protonated in the presence of hydrogen iodide and it forms an iodide ion and an oxonium ion. So see, you have this methoxyethane, okay, and you have this hydrogen iodide over here. Now this oxygen has lone pairs, okay, so it can donate its lone pair to this hydrogen. So what will happen in first step, this methoxyethane, it will get protonated. So you will see with this oxygen you have this hydrogen and you get a plus charge on this oxygen. So this methoxyethane is getting protonated and this iodide ion leaves from here. So you get one oxonium ion and one iodide ion. Okay. Now what happens over here? This your protonated oxonium ion or protonated methoxyethane over here, it acts as your electrophile over here, and this iodide ion will act as your nucleophile. Now students, there are 2 possibilities. Okay, this iodide ion can attack on this carbon and this iodide ion can also attack on this carbon. Now remember I told you, if any of the R or R dash, it forms a 3-degree carbocation or it is resonance stabilized, then we go YSN1 pathway. But if we look at this particular compound, this is super primary and this is primary. Okay, so there is no case of 3-degree carbocation or any resonance stabilized. So where will this iodine attack? On this carbon or on this carbon? So we will see what happens on this. This iodine ion over here, it will attack on this particular carbon. Okay, why it will attack on this particular carbon? Because on this carbon there is less steric hindrance. If you look at this, there is more steric hindrance on this particular carbon CH2 and CH3. Okay, so this iodine will attack on this CH3 group over here, and if you see this iodine, which iodide ion, which acts as your nucleophile, it attacks on this carbon. Okay, so you see this intermediate, it is formed. So the bond is cleaved at this particular carbon. Okay, so you get one methyl iodide and alcohol is formed because this CH2 CH3 gets this OH. So you will see one methyl iodide is formed and an ethanol is formed. Okay. Now what will happen further? If your HI is present in excess at higher temperatures, okay, so if HI is present in excess, the reaction will not stop. What will happen further? Your ethanol, it will react with another molecule of HI and it will get converted into ethyl iodide. So look at this reaction. In earlier slide, I have shown you that you get one alcohol, which is ethanol. Now what will happen if this is present in excess, HI, then again what will happen, your alcohol will react with this another molecule of hydrogen iodide. And what will happen, this alcohol over here, it will get protonated and this iodide ion will leave. Okay, now this iodide ion now only has this carbon to attack. Okay, so this iodide ion, which acts as a nucleophile over here, It will attack on this carbon, and this being a better leaving group will leave from here. So you will get CH3CH2I, which is ethyl iodide and water. Okay, so remember, if Hi is present in excess, another molecule of Hi will react with alcohol, and you will get ethyl iodide in this case and a water molecule. So I hope the mechanism of this reaction, it is clear to you now, that how this reaction is proceeding. Now students, we will see that when one of the alkyl group of ether is tertiary group. Okay, now we will see the case with a tertiary group. So I have told you that if there is a tertiary group, then in that case, it is a possibility of 3-degree carbocation. So in that case, the reaction will proceed by SN1 mechanism and not SN2 mechanism. So here the reaction will take place via SN1 mechanism. So in this case, a tertiary halide will be formed. Now look at this particular reaction. Here you see there is a tertiary group, because this carbon is further connected to other 3 carbon atoms. So this is a tertiary group over here. Okay, and you have an hydrogen iodide. So you will see here, you get this alcohol group over here, which is methanol, and you get this tertiary halide. Okay, now we will see the reaction mechanism, that how this reaction is proceeding. So if you look over here students, you have 2 possibilities. Okay, that when your iodide ion will attack on this particular compound, either this bond can be broken at this bond, look at the screen, either this bond can be broken or this bond can be broken. So you have 2 possibilities. Now we will see by mechanism that which bond is getting cleaved. So what will happen in first step, there will be formation of oxonium ion by protonation of 2-methoxy 2-methylpropane. So in first step, there will be protonation of this compound. Okay, your oxygen with its lone pair can attack on this hydrogen, and this iodide ion can leave from here. So you will get this oxonium ion. You see that this oxygen has this hydrogen and positive charge. So this your 2-methoxy 2-methylpropane gets protonated, and you have an iodide ion. Okay. Now, as I told, this bond can be cleaved from here or here. Now see students, if this bond can be cleaved from this side, this carbon will get a positive charge. And if this bond will be cleaved from this side, then this carbon will get a positive charge. Now see, if this carbon gets a positive charge, then this is a 3-degree this will be a 3-degree carbocation. So this will be more stabilized carbocation. Okay, so we will see what happens in step 2. In step 2, there will be a formation of a stable tertiary carbocation. So as I told that this carbocation will be a more stable carbocation. So this bond will be cleaved from here, and this group will get a positive charge. That is, this carbon will get a positive charge, and another molecule you will get of alcohol, which is methanol over here. Okay, so this reaction is proceeding by SN1 pathway, and this is the slow step, because this step involves the formation of a carbocation. So this is a rate determining step, which is RDS, and this is a slow step. Okay, remember, if you are forming a stable tertiary carbocation, the reaction will proceed by SN1 pathway. Now what will happen in step 3? The iodide ion which has left, it will behave as a nucleophile. Okay, so there will be a nucleophilic attack. So this iodide ion, okay, this will attack on this carbon. This is a nucleophile over here. So you will see, you will get 2-iodo-2-methylpropane. So there will be formation of 2-iodo-2-methylpropane via SN1 attack. Okay, so you will finally get this compound, and this step is a fast step. So in this case, you have seen that if there is a stable there's formation of a tertiary carbocation, which is a stable carbocation. The reaction will proceed by SN1 pathway. Okay. So I hope this is clear now. Now there is a question. This is example 7.7. The question is saying that you have to give the major products that are formed by heating each of the following ethers with hydrogen iodide. So you have three different compounds. All are ethers over here. You will see there is a carbon, oxygen and carbon bond. So you have to heat each of this compound with hydrogen iodide, which is Hi, and you have to give the major products. So I'll give you some time to solve this question and then we will discuss. So you have 30 seconds to solve and then we will discuss this. Okay students, let us see the solution. So remember I told you that in case of unsymmetrical alkyl or aryl ethers, you will see that the cleavage will happen at less hindered side and it will proceed by SN2 pathway. Okay. And if there is a 3-degree stable carbocation, then the reaction will proceed by SN1 pathway. So see the solution. Ethers, they undergo cleavage of carbon-oxygen-carbon bond while heating with concentrated Hi. In this case, you have given Hi. So this reaction is known as ether cleavage. The lower or less substituted alkyl part of ethers forms the alkyl iodide. Okay, so as I told, if there is less or lower or less substituted part, then it will form alkyl iodide and it will proceed by SN2 pathway. And obviously the other part of ether, they will form the alcohol. If it is more substituted part is tertiary, benzylic or allylic, then it will form an alkyl iodide. Okay, so if there will be more stable 3-degree carbocation which will be formed, then reaction will proceed by SN1 pathway and not by SN2 pathway. So first we are taking the example of heating of 1-ethoxy-2-methylbutane with Hi. Now if you look at this particular example, then this is a compound. You're treating it with hydrogen iodide. Okay, so as we have studied the detailed mechanism, you know in the first step, this compound will get protonated. Okay, so when this will get protonated, you have two options now. The iodide can either attack on this carbon or it can attack on this carbon. Now if you see over here also this case of this carbon, that this carbon is further connected by only one carbon. So this is a primary carbon and over also here this is a primary carbon. So where will this iodide ion attack? It will attack where there will be less steric hindrance present. If you look at this carbon, then there is more steric hindrance present. But to look at this particular carbon, then there is less steric hindrance which is present. Okay, so what will happen over here, that this iodide ion will attack on this carbon and you will get CH3CH2I, and this part will form an alcohol part. Okay. Now if you look at the second example, you are heating 2-propoxy-2-methylbutane with Hi. Now if you look at this particular example, first step, this compound will get protonated. So oxygen will get an hydrogen and there will be plus charge. Now again there are two possibilities. The iodide can attack on this carbon or here it can attack on this carbon. Now if you look carefully students, then in this case there will be a 3-degree carbocation which is formed. So more substituted part forms the alkyl iodide because of the formation of stable tertiary carbocation. If this carbon will get a positive charge over here, then you will see it will get a more stable this will form a more stable carbocation. So iodine will attack on this carbon and it will form 2-iodo 2-methyl butane. And another part, that is this propanol, will become an alcohol part. So this will be propane 1-ol, because 1, 2, 3, there are 3 carbon atoms. So the root word is propane. And if we are taking an alcohol, then this will be OL. Okay, so this will form propanol and you will get 2-iodo 2-methyl butane. And which pathway it is following? Obviously SN1 pathway, because there is formation of stable carbocation. Now the next part, there is heating of benzyl phenyl ether with hydrogen iodide. Now if we look over here, then in this case, there is this benzyl phenyl ether. Okay, then in this first step, this oxygen will get protonated and this oxygen will get a hydrogen and a positive charge. Now you will see over here that this benzyl iodide, the benzyl iodide will be formed because this benzyl carbocation is more stable. If this carbon over here gets a positive charge, then this benzyl carbocation will be more stable as compared to your phenyl carbocation. So in this case, what will happen? You will get a benzyl iodide and a phenol because of more stability of this benzyl carbocation as compared to the phenyl carbocation. So I hope this is now clear that which pathway you need to follow, SN1 or SN2. If there is more substituted 3-degree carbocation is formed, you will go by SN1 pathway, and in another case, you will go by SN2 pathway if there is not 3-degree stable carbocation which is formed. And in that case, your iodide ion will attack where there will be less steric hindrance, or the carbon which will be less substituted carbon. Okay? Now we will see some electrophilic substitution reactions. Now you know that the alkoxy group, which is the OR group, it donates the electron density to the benzene ring. It has plus M effect and it will donate its electron density to the benzene ring. So it activates the ring for electrophilic substitution reaction. As your alkoxy group, it will donate the electron density, so it will activate your benzene ring for the electrophilic substitution reactions. So this means your ring becomes more reactive towards electrophiles. Okay. Now this OR group, which is the alkoxy group, it is ortho and para directing group. This means that during the substitution reactions, the new groups, they are more likely to attach to the ortho and para positions. Okay. Now, if you see the resonating structures, these are the resonating structures of alkoxy substituent benzene. Then you see on this benzene, you have this OR group and this oxygen has electron density. Okay. The electron density on this oxygen, it's not localized. It is delocalized because it is taking part in this resonance. Okay, so you will see over here, if you look at the resonating structures, then the electron density is more pronounced on the ortho and para position. Compared to this alkoxy group, this is the ortho position, this is the para position, and this is again the ortho position. So if you see, electron density is more pronounced at this ortho and para positions. So what will happen? The electrophiles are more likely to be substituted on these ortho and para positions. Okay. Now we will see some electrophilic substitution reactions. First reaction we will see anisole. It undergoes bromination with bromine in ethanoic acid. So we are taking this bromine over here and we are taking this solvent as an ethanoic acid. So what will happen in this reaction? Now this reaction can proceed in the absence of FeBr3 catalyst. Okay, if I talk about in normally a benzene is not very reactive. Okay, your Br2 is too weak to attack this benzene directly. So if we are taking a case of a normal benzene, then in that normal benzene, we use FeBr3, which acts as a Lewis acid catalyst, which is used to polarize your Br2. But in this case of any sol over here, you will see you have the OCH3 group, which is the methoxy group which is present. And it is a strongly activating group, okay, due to the resonance of the donation of the lone pair of oxygen into the ring. Now, because of this any sol, it can react with Br2 without the presence of FeBr3, which act as a catalyst. Okay, so in this case, we are taking the polar solvent. So your polar solvent Br2, it gets polarized easily. Okay, so if you look at this reaction of any sol, if you are treating it with Br2 in ethanoic acid, you will see you do not require any catalyst because it is a highly activating group. Okay, and this polar solvent, it can polarize your Br2 easily. So here you will see your Br plus, which acts as an electrophile, can attack on this benzene ring. Now, on what positions it will attack? I told you the electron density is more pronounced at ortho and para positions. So this Br will attack on this ortho position and this para position. If you look, you get two products. Okay, this Br is para to this OSCH3 group, and here this Br is ortho to this OCH3 group. So you will get one para bromoanisole and another you will get one ortho bromoanisole. Now if you look, this is the major and this is the minor over here. Now why this is major and this is minor? If you see in case of ether, there is no hydrogen bonding which is possible. Now you know the size of bromine group is large. So if this bromine group will be present at this ortho position to this anisole, then there will be steric repulsion. So that is why this is the minor one, and if this bromine is attached to this para one, this will be a major one, because here there will be no steric repulsion because these groups are far away to each other. Okay, so that is why this will be a major one and this will be a minor one. Okay, now we will look towards the Friedel-Crafts reaction. So Friedel-Crafts reaction, there are two types. There is alkylation and there is acylation. Okay, so Friedel-anisole, it undergoes Friedel-Crafts reaction in the presence of a Lewis acid catalyst, which is anhydrous AlCl3. So first we will study about the alkylation. That is, the alkyl group will attach to your anisole. So if you look over here, the alkyl groups, they are introduced at the ortho and para positions by reaction with alkyl halide. In this case, again you will see that the para isomer, it forms the major product. If you look at this reaction, you see this is the anisole and this is an alkyl halide, which is CH3Cl. When you treat it in presence of a Lewis acid catalyst, which is anhydrous AlCl3, in the presence of CS2, you will get two products. One is 2-methoxytoluene and other one is 4-methoxytoluene. Now if you look this OCH3 group, it is strongly electron donating group. Okay, this activates the aromatic ring towards the electrophilic substitution, where at ortho and para positions, because electron density is more pronounced at ortho and para positions. So when you will see here, you will take an alkyl halide and a Lewis acid catalyst. Okay, so this will create a carbocation which is CH3 plus, and this will act as an electrophile, and this electrophile will attack on this benzene ring. So you will see the CH3 group will attach on this ortho position over here and this para position over here. Now again, if you will see that this is the minor one and this is the major one. If you'll see the reason, then the steric repulsion between this methoxy group and this alkyl group after substitution at ortho position. So there'll be steric repulsion between these two groups. So that is why this is the minor one. And if this alkyl groups get attached to the para position, then this steric repulsion factors gets eliminated. So you will see this is the major product. Okay. Next we will see Friedel-Crafts reaction. In earlier we talked about alkylation. Now we will talk about acylation. That acyl group will attach to your anisole. So acyl groups are introduced at the ortho and para positions by reaction with acyl halide. Now in this case also, if you will see the para isomer, it will form as a major product. The reason again is that the steric repulsion between the methoxy group and the acyl group after substitution at the ortho position. So look at this reaction, students. This is your anisole over here, and this is your ethanol chloride. This is the acyl halide group over here. That is R C double bond O Cl. Okay. When you treat it with anhydrous AlCl3, you will get two products. One, 2-methoxy acetophenone, and another one is 4-methoxy acetophenone. So in this case, what will happen? Your acyl chloride and a Lewis acid catalyst. This will generate a reactive acylium ion, and this acylium ion will act as an electrophile. Okay, and then this electrophile attacks on this benzene ring over here at the ortho and para positions. So you will see that this acyl group, which is R C double bond O, gets attached at the ortho and para position. Again, this will be a major one and this will be a minor one. The reason is clear because here there will be steric repulsion. You have one methoxy group and there is this one acyl group over here. So there will be a steric repulsion over here. That is why this one will be a major one and this one will be a minor one. Now the next reaction which we will see, it is nitration reaction. So here anisole, it undergoes nitration reaction with a mixture of concentrated sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Okay. Now this will introduce a nitro group to your aromatic ring. Now product over here you will see, you will get a mixture of ortho and para nitroanisole. Okay, that means the nitro group, it can attach to either the ortho or para position, which is related to the methoxy group on the benzene ring. Okay. So now one will be major, another one will be minor. So again your para one will be a major one. It will be a major product. Okay. Now if you look at this reaction, students, on the screen, this is our anisole. When it reacts with a mixture of concentrated sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4, and nitric acid, which is HNO3, so it will introduce the nitro group on the para and ortho positions. Okay, so this will be a minor one and this will be a major one. Why minor? Because see, there will be steric repulsion between these two groups. And over here, this factor of steric repulsion is eliminated. So this will be a major one. And this one over here will be a minor one. So I hope the reactions are clear to you. We discussed about Friedel-Crafts reactions, which is alkylation, acylation, and then we discussed about the nitration reaction. Now there is one question for you to solve. We have in-text question 7.10. So this question is saying, write the reactions of Williamson synthesis of 2-ethoxy 3-methylpentane starting with ethanol and 3-methylpentane 2-ol. So you will be starting with ethanol and 3-methylpentane 2-ol. And you have to give the synthesis of this 2-ethoxy 3-methylpentane. Okay, and this is a Williamson synthesis reaction. So I'll give you 30 seconds to solve this question and then we will discuss. Okay, students. Now, if you remember when we discussed the Williamson synthesis, there I told you that we prefer primary alkyl halide and tertiary butoxide. Okay. So here we will see the synthesis of 2-ethoxy-3-methylpentane starting from ethanol and 3-methylpentane 2-ol. So we need an alkyl halide, which should be a primary alkyl halide, and we need a butoxide. Okay, so first we will form a butoxide. So see over here, you have 3-methylpentane 2-ol. It will react with an alkali metal, which is sodium, and it will form an alkoxide over here. Okay, so if you see over here, this reacts with your alkali metal, which is Na, and over here you are getting an alkoxide. Okay, the O Na groups get attached, that is O plus and Na minus. Okay, now what will happen? Your ethanol, it will react with HBr to form ethyl bromide. So see over here, you have a ethanol, this CH3CH2OH. When it reacts with HBr, then you see over here you will get ethyl bromide, that is CH3CH2Br. Okay, that is this OH group over here will leave. First, this will get protonated, and being a better leaving group, this OH2 will leave from here and bromine will get attached. So now over here you have an alkoxide, and over here you have an ethyl bromide. So this is a primary alkyl halide over here. Okay, and in this reaction we prefer a primary alkyl halide. You see the carbon to which your bromine is attached is further connected by only one carbon atom. Now we will see the reaction of this Williamson synthesis. So at ethyl bromide, it reacts with 3-methylpentane 2-olate and forms 2-ethoxy-3-methylpentane. And now this reaction will proceed through SN2 pathway. Now if you look at this reaction over here, you have an alkoxide over here. This oxygen has lone pair. Okay, so it can attack on this group over here, which is your ethyl bromide. So when this oxygen will attack over here, you will see that this bromine group will leave from here. Okay, so you will get 3-ethoxy-3-methylpentane. Okay, so if you see over here, your ether will be formed. That when this oxygen will attack on this carbon over here, that is the CH3CH2, this bromine will eliminate from here. So it will form NaBr and this ether will be formed. So this is we proceeded by SN2 mechanism. We have a primary halide and we have this alkoxide over here. Okay. Now the next question is, this is index question 7.11. Which of the following is an appropriate set of reactant for the preparation of 1-methoxy-4-nitrobenzene and why? So you have been given 1 and 2 set of reactants and you have to prepare 1-methoxy-4-nitrobenzene. So you have to tell which one is the appropriate. So I'll give you 30 seconds to solve and then we will discuss. Let us see the solution now. So first we will see for set A. Okay. For this set, if you see, you have this sodium methoxide, that is CH3ONA. It acts as a strong nucleophile as well as it acts as a strong base. Now if this is acting as a strong nucleophile and a strong base, then over here elimination reaction will predominate over substitution reaction. Okay, so as a result, the ether which we aim to produce, it becomes a minor product. Okay, so ether will be a minor product over here because this is acting as a strong nucleophile as well as a strong base. So substitution over here, direct substitution of this bromine by this OCH3 group is difficult over here. Okay, so we will not prefer this particular set of reactant. Now if we look at second case, in this second set you will see that sodium phenoxide is a strong nucleophile but not a strong base. If you see here, this is O minus and Na plus. This acts as a strong nucleophile. Okay, and being a strong nucleophile over here, you will see that this CH3Br which is present over here, okay, this can attack on this compound over here. So you will see negative charges delocalize into the ring. Substitution reaction dominates and forms ether. Okay, so you see that this oxygen has a negative charge and this will be delocalized into the ring, and over here the substitution reaction will dominate and ether will be formed over here. So you will see, you will get the product as 1-methoxy 4-nitrobenzene. So if you look over here, this CH3Br over here, then you will see that this is substituted by this CH3 group over here. Okay, and you will get one NaBr, which is, you can see over here. So you will get 1-methoxy 4-nitrobenzene. Okay, so here the substitution reaction dominates over the elimination reaction because this, your ONA over here, is a strong nucleophile. So I hope this question is clear to you now, students. So we will see that the set 2 reactants, they're appropriate for the preparation of 1-methoxy 4-nitrobenzene. Okay, now we will summarize whatever we have studied in today's lecture. So we studied about the reactivity. We see that ethers, they are generally unreactive because they have a stable carbon-oxygen-carbon linkage. But under the drastic conditions, you will see that this bond can be cleaved if you're treating it with strong acids. Okay, that is hydrogen halides, which is hydrogen iodide, hydrogen bromide, or hydrogen chloride. The reactivity order of hydrogen iodide is greater, then comes the hydrogen bromide, and then comes the hydrogen chloride. Because you see over here, there's a weaker overlap because the size of this iodine is greater. Okay, so that is why this bond dissociation energy of this is low. This bond can be easily broken. Okay. Now if I talk about mechanisms, we see that the primary and secondary alkyl groups over here, they follow SN2 mechanism. Okay, and tertiary alkyl groups, they follow SN1 mechanism. If there is a tertiary carbocation, then there will be SN1 pathway. Otherwise, there will be SN2 pathway, and the nucleophile will attack on the less substituted carbon. Then we studied about electrophilic substitution reactions. We saw that the alkoxy group is ortho and para-directing, and it is an activating group. Okay, we studied the common reactions, which is halogenation, Friedel-Crafts alkylation, Friedel-Crafts acylation, and the nitration reactions. Okay, we saw that the groups, they get substituted at the ortho and para positions. We discussed about the reactions with hydrogen halide. We saw that when HX is present in excess, you will see that you will get this Rx, this R-X, and one water molecule. Okay. And if there is partial cleavage, then when your ether reacts with HX, you will get one alkyl halide and one alcohol over here. But if one more molecule of HX is present, the reaction will further proceed and your alcohol will react with HX, okay, forming the alkyl halide. So this is the full cleavage and this is the partial cleavage. So I hope, students, today's lecture is clear to you. Whatever we discussed, thank you for attending today's lecture. Hope you have a good day.